Here's the uncomfortable truth. Someone earning $150,000 a year can end up broker than someone earning $50,000 because income was never the variable that mattered. Allocation was. Today, we're breaking down the 50-40-10 rule, a framework that flips the traditional 50-30-20 budget on its head by putting investing ahead of lifestyle spending. If you've ever wondered why some people build wealth on modest salaries while high earners stay flat broke, this is the math behind it. The framework, the 50-40-10 rule, splits every paycheck three ways: 50% to needs, 40% to investment, and just 10% to wants. Compare that to the traditional 50-30-20 model most people follow: 50% needs, 30% wants, only 20% invested. On a $60,000 salary, that difference is stark. The traditional model invests $12,000 a year. This model invests $24,000 a year, double, simply by shrinking the wants bucket from 30% down to 10%. Over 20 years at an 8% average return, that gap alone is the difference between roughly $549,000 and 1.1 million clone. Same income, same effort, completely different destination, purely from where the percentages land. Bucket 1, needs. 50%. The first bucket, needs, covers 5 categories: housing, food, transportation, medical expenses, and education. Housing is usually the biggest line item, and it's where allocation discipline matters most. Take someone earning $5,000 a month. Their needs bucket caps at $12,500. If rent alone eats $2,000 of that, there's only $500 left for food, transport, medical, and education combined, a warning sign that housing is oversized relative to income. The rule works as a diagnostic. If your needs bucket structurally can't fit inside 50%, the fix usually isn't cutting groceries. It's addressing the housing or transportation cost directly, because those are usually the 2 categories large enough to blow the whole model up. Transportation is the other quiet budget killer. A $500 a month car payment on that same $5,000 income already consumes 10% of total pay before insurance, gas, or maintenance, sometimes pushing transportation alone past what food and medical combined should cost. The needs bucket isn't just about listing expenses. It's about sizing them correctly against your actual income. Bucket 2. Investment, 40%. The second bucket, investment, is what separates this framework from a standard budget, and it covers 5 categories: emergency fund, knowledge, stocks, mutual funds, crypto, and real estate. Start with the emergency fund. On that same $5,000 monthly income, 40% is $2,000, and early on, a meaningful chunk of that should build a cash reserve before anything else. A 3 to 6 month emergency fund of $9,000, $18,000 means a stoldo. $2,000 car repair gets paid in cash instead of financed on a credit card at 20% plus interest, protecting the rest of the investment plan from ever getting interrupted. Knowledge is next. Often skipped, rarely priced correctly. A $500 course or certification that increases someone's earning power by even $3,000 a year pays for itself 6 times over in year 1 alone, then compounds every year after through a higher salary base. Then the growth engines, stocks and mutual funds, crypto and real estate. Say someone allocates $800 a month here specifically. Invested in a diversified stock portfolio averaging 8% annually, that becomes roughly $470,000 over 20 years. The same $800 a month split, Say 70% into stocks, mutual funds, and 30% into a small crypto allocation for higher risk, higher volatility exposure. Introduces more upside and more swings, which is exactly why crypto should be the smaller slice, not the whole bucket. Real estate typically enters later, once enough capital is built. A $30,000 down payment on a $180,000 rental property, appreciating just 4% a year while a tenant covers the mortgage, adds an asset growing in the background without consuming ongoing cash flow. Bucket 3. Wants, 10%. The third bucket, wants, covers restaurants, entertainment, vacations, luxury items, and electronics, and it's deliberately the smallest slice on that $5,000 monthly income. 10% is $500 for all 5 categories combined. That's not zero. This isn't a framework built on deprivation. It's a framework built on sequencing. Enjoy life, but only after needs are covered and money has already been put to work. A $150 dinner out feels very different when it's the third item pulled from a $500 bucket versus an unlimited whatever's left pool with no ceiling. The constraint isn't the point. The ceiling is what protects the 40% sitting in the investment bucket from ever getting raided. Why 40% instead of 20%? Here's the actual insight most budgeting frameworks miss. The traditional 50-30-20 split isn't wrong. It's just underweighted on the one bucket that compounds. Once spending, restaurants, vacations, electronics, provides zero return next year. Investment spending provides a return every single year it exists. Shifting even 10 additional percentage points from wants into investment doesn't just add that money once. It adds it every year, compounding for decades. That's the entire mechanical reason 40% outperforms 20% by roughly double over 20 years, as we saw at the start. The 50-40-10 rule isn't about being rich. It's about being sequenced correctly. Needs get covered. Investment gets prioritized. Wants get their turn last, deliberately small. So the money that actually builds wealth never gets touched first. If this reframed how you split your own paycheck, subscribe. Power Chronicles breaks down frameworks like this every week. Comment below what percentage of your income is actually going to wants right now. And were you surprised by the number?